Hi guys, I hope you've all had fun this last month and aren't completely burnt out by Inktober. For this month's Prompt Squad, I chose the prompt Inktober 2020. It's kind of becoming a bit of a tradition now, I guess, but it's just a really nice way to merge the two of these challenges and to feature some of the art that has been created by so many of the wonderful artists that take part in this without everybody, bursting. So I've got a lot of art to show you this month and I can't wait to do so, but first I really want to pick out one of the pieces that I created this month and talk a bit about the process that went on behind it and my thoughts and all of that stuff. Now I'm actually planning on uploading an Inktober sketchbook tour, but I'm currently still editing this thing, and you don't want to know how long it is, to be honest, so I think I might put it up in 2 parts next week. Obviously, I understand if it's too long for you to watch, but I did try to just kind of chat a bit more openly and broadly. I flick through the book and I just give some wider thoughts on how I chose to do things and how I work stuff out, and yeah, it's just a bit more in depth. It has some process videos through it too, so I don't know if that sounds good to you. I hope you'll enjoy it when it comes out. I'm so bad at self-promoting. I just heard myself say this. I've been working on it for like days now, and now I'm going, hey, don't watch it though. Guys, like, comment and subscribe. Watch all of my videos. Da 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 da. Okay, anyway, I chose The First Day of the Swamp Witch as my favourite piece from Inktober. So honestly, one of the reasons is that the recording for this was one of the better ones. But also, I did really like this one and how it ended up. I tried to break the Inktober that I was doing into kind of a rough weekly challenge thing and different projects, mainly because this is my 4th year of doing it and I wanted to keep it interesting and change up my style and my mediums, and I felt like this was a nice way to keep it fresh and just keep me motivated so I could get through the whole month. After the first week and telling this Red Panda story that I did, where I used watercolors and fine liners as the ink part of it, I decided to move to using a brush pen and the watercolors to depict this story. I had a rough idea of the story that I wanted to tell, but with this being the first of the whole series of this story, I also wanted to try something new after the last week of keeping to that one style, so I decided to restrict myself to some kind of moody colour tones of blues and purples in this piece. This helped me a lot to think more about the tone and the light in the image rather than fully rendering it and having to think through all the different colours. That was for the day after when I was feeling a bit more confident. And the lovely Emily, I just want to say, whose art is going to be shown in the later half of this video, kindly gifted me this Vivia sketchbook and watercolour set for Inktober. I can't say thank you enough, and it's been a wonderful way of kind of keeping everything together and I really enjoyed it. I can't say thank you, like I say, it's been great. But yeah, the Vivias are a really interesting set of watercolours to use, and I'm really tempted to make a review at some point about them because after using them kind of every day for a full month, it gave me a lot of opinions. It's a nice way of putting it. But yeah, one positive that I would say is that the colours are really, really vivid, almost kind of ink-like more than they are watercolours. And as I was painting over the line art that I'd drawn, I had to be really mindful of the layers and how bright I wanted my colours to be. Because obviously I wanted a kind of murkiness with it being a swamp, but then I had to offset that with some bright contrast, so I tried to build up layers of paint with the watercolours to achieve that. Because the Viviers also dry pretty quickly for watercolours, I ended up with some really interesting blooming from them as I was doing this first initial wash. I think the colour is very even when layering them from just one swatch of colour, which I personally really liked about them. I think watercolours are a really freeing medium. They let you experiment a lot with their messiness, so that was a real fun aspect of painting this Swamp Witch. It's like a lazy artist's way of making cool lighting. You don't have to work too hard to make some really nice work with these. When I was sketching up this one, I wanted to reference older art that I'd made in previous Inktober's too. If you followed me for a little while now, maybe you saw some of these visual references that I was doing. So for this one, I was going back to this Lady of the Lake idea that I've kind of done a few times. I think there's something really mysterious about only seeing half a character, either if you do it in silhouette or by shading, or like I did here where half the character is literally obscured. I tried to play a lot with the mystery in this painting, and when I sketched this I was building up the trees and using perspective to try and break up the background so that you couldn't see lots of information. A lot of it was hidden away behind her, so you kind of get that feeling on two levels. And then the hanging skulls and the dolls are all kind of similar in form to each other, but they're also each unique, so that kind of disconcerts you as you look at them because they're not consistent. You can't like see it as a pattern. And then the snakes, I mean, as you'll know, snakes in general in art have their own language. They have a lot of their own meanings in both Western and honestly world culture in general. So I knew I wanted them to be a part of this piece because I think they do mix very well with the ideas of mystery and magic. But also, I knew I was going to do this in brush pens, so I got to do a lot of my favourite things. I added lots of curves in my sketch and lots of flowing lines, and snakes just are a perfect match for that. I think that's one of the reasons that I do love painting them, and I do come back to them so often. And I shaped them again to direct you to the centre of the image and to the character. I was really trying to draw your eye from the bottom to the top of the image using both the stakes and the shift in lighting from light to dark, so I hope that worked when you were first seeing it. I hope that wasn't too dull to hear about and too in detail, but I thought it would be nice to hear some of the reasons why I actually make these decisions when I'm drawing. I think I get worried that that's a bit boring to listen to, but at the same time I quite enjoy hearing artists and understanding like where the logic was and where these things are, I guess. You know, there is a lot of that type of logic when you're doing it. It's not like you're thinking through every single one of those decisions, but you kind of are as well as you're making those choices as you draw. And then I think you kind of, well, for me anyway, I kind of match that with my personal taste, and I guess that's what style really is anyway. I just love to paint water and water creatures, and I think there's something really fascinating about water and to paint it and to do it. It's so much fun to paint water, especially with watercolours, because they are, like I said earlier, just really random and they're kind of alive in themselves. You're never really in complete control of them, like you are, say, with an acrylic or even a gouache. You know where that's going to do, you know if you use it a lot, it will always act a certain way, but watercolour is whatever the day is. It could be, you know, just the weather could change it, and I think that's really fun about them. So with the brush pen, I can really draw the way that I like, and I felt like this was probably most in my comfort zone, this one. I'm not really a scratchy lines, overlapping lines type of drawer that I know a few artists who I really admire are. I'm more of a big sweeping lines when I draw. It's a lot more likely to go wrong that way, of course, and it's not as perfect, but you know, that's what rubbers are for. And yeah, that was the first day of the Swamp Witch's story during my take on the Inktober challenge. I won't keep talking as I can just go into a lot more depth in the sketchbook tour, which I have done already, and that's going to come out soon anyway, but during that, you can see more of her story and where it goes, or you could even pop over to Instagram if you don't want to sit through hours and hours of me nattering on in a video to see them. Like, comment and subscribe, guys. Like, comment and subscribe. Yeah, so with that, I want to show and talk to you about the wonderful members of Promptsquad who've each taken the prompt of Inktober and have, as always, made each their own and created some really cool art inspired by it. So I can't wait to show you what happened this month. So Karl created this beautiful piece for the challenge inspired by the Avatar, The Last Airbender character Kyoshi. I know she's also in the one, but I kind of take it from there. Kyoshi looks so intense, especially because Karl has made sure to center her in the composition and then play with the symmetry of her too. It makes her appear very strong, like she is as a character, which I think is such a clever visual way of doing it. Karl also limited the colours a lot, not just to be accurate to the show, but to, again, bring that intensity by blocking out the colour tones. It has this real graphical, clean appearance that I personally really like. Also, just as an aside, Karl made this amazing costume for Halloween this month that you really need to go check out. It's on their Instagram. So make sure, as always, to check out the links that I put on screen. They're also in the description if you want to find an easy way again to see all of the other work that the artists are creating, other than just the few that I'm able to feature in these videos. Now next, we have Troy, who did this amazing collection of paintings for Inktober. I mean, I've been loving it all month, so I can't wait for you all to see it if you haven't already. I can't believe the quality and the amount of detail that they've achieved every day. It has been really inspiring to see. I especially loved the two that they picked out as well. The bright green and the way that it grows out from the face is such a cool effect. I love that the texture that they've made has got so much tone, but it's also like just protruding out. It looks really good. And the Nightmare Before Christmas piece is really gorgeous too, because you have a lot of shading on the characters, which brings them all forward, and then you have these lovely patterns and different designs that they've created in the background, and just everything builds together to create a really gorgeous illustration. Tealight also made some beautiful work for Inktober. You're going to be sick of me saying that word, I know, but there really aren't any other words for this. It's been like a feast this month for how good the art's been. I love that they've restricted themselves to black and white in their month, because it's resulted in all their art being very atmospheric and really beautiful too. I noticed that between Tealight's favourites, there's this theme of nature and mechanical man-made objects brushing against one another. And I think that adds this kind of internal drama to the choices that they've made. And it already, is a dramatic painting in itself, so it's interesting to see them play with that. I would love to know, Tealight, if there are more thoughts and more theories that you have behind pairing these two together, whether it had a deeper meaning that I didn't understand or didn't know. But yeah, I would love to hear you comment on it or anything like that. I'm sure we'd all like to know more thoughts behind this kind of relationship that you've had in your art. Tara's art style always has this gentle feel to it, but what I love personally about her piece this month was the use of a strong outline on the characters and the seals in this kind of colour that matches the background. It's not like a sharp white and black, it's a white and a more of a blue tone. And I think the use of having those two brushing against each other adds a real dimension to them without over detailing those characters and kind of making it cartoony, if you know what I mean. They feel related to the space around them, and I think that's just a real masterful use of that technique. I wish I could have achieved that effect nearly as well when I'm using my white pen. But yeah, I love the depiction of water that Tara's done too. It shows such a good understanding of light and how to play with it in an illustration. Zakura has been doing this challenge a few years now, and I've loved seeing her unique take on the challenge every year. I mean, as always, she can't help but push the boundaries of the challenge and make it harder and harder for herself every year. It is crazy how much work Zakura does every single time for Inktober. Because this year she did her own Pintober, and she let us all have a vote on what our favourites were each week, and for the month overall too. Hopefully I will have this video out before that voting's over, so you can take a look and search out and choose your favourites too. I know I'm personally really excited to see the results, as each pin has been just so unique and so awesome all month. It's been crazy how good the pins are. You can just do it as a job, Zakura. You can just do it. But yeah, I had a lot of trouble choosing a favourite as it was up to me. So I tried to show kind of some of the variety of what she created. But let's be honest, you know, if the booty shroom doesn't win, I mean, what is wrong with everyone? Lisbeth created so many lovely illustrations this month, and each one is kind of like peering through a porthole into this whole separate world and story that she's created. And it's been really fun to follow that throughout Inktober. There is so much variety in her work. Each story offers this amazing insight into a separate character and life. I have no idea how Lisbeth can be so creative every day of the month, but it's been a pleasure to see it. I've really enjoyed it. I especially love this cute kitten with the flowers in her hair, and the expression on its face is so cute. I just love the way that it's painted and framed here. It just all feels like she's coming out of the piece, that she's alive in so many ways, and I just think it's lovely. Nadia had a really creative approach to Inktober this year that kind of took an inspiration, I think, from last year in some ways, by playing with the idea of this restricted, spooky colour palette of green, orange and purple, and then mixing that with this idea of smaller thumbnail art on postage notes. And not only can you see an attention to the composition, as she's limited herself so much to the size, but also the amount of thought that's had to go into differentiating each of the objects and creating really strong images because of that small scale. It's been really exciting to see Nadia's work through this challenge every day and see how she comes up with so many exciting illustrations, even with so many rules placed on herself. It's been such a cool idea, and I really enjoyed seeing every day. Hlumva's take on the challenge has been amazing to follow too. Again, there's a range of creativity of the characters that have been developed, as well as this experimentation of styles that have gone through in just 1 month. The first two are showing really are Inktober in its truest sense, really. The line art is beautifully detailed, each stroke and shade has been thought through, and have created these clean and sharp illustrations that just ooze this imaginative world from them. I love it. And yeah, I love the forest growing from the bird and all these little details that you can see. It just draws you further and further into her art. In many of Hlumva's pieces too, kind of like this sun and moon especially, you'll see this reflection as well of what I would deem as classical children's illustration being merged with her own more modern style. I really personally enjoy that about her work. Far Photos also tried different styles and texture in the challenge, both this move into traditional and digital, and each again shows so much imagination in every illustration. I mean, the compositions aren't crazy overworked, but you can tell this bigger story from them and you feel the emotions of it. The chair and the clown, even though you barely see the clown, it gives you such a feeling of dread and terror without having to over-egg it, which I personally think is really clever. I could definitely learn a lot from Far Photos' work. Plus the little details that they do come and add, they're always just a perfect little touch. They don't have to go crazy with it. They know how to hold back and get the same amount of emotion from it, like the whiskers on the pumpkin cat. They're just lovely details. Emily created this whole unique style and concept for her take on the challenge, and I love seeing them all together on her page when you see them. It's like a gallery. Each one is really beautifully done, but it's all distinctly creepy in their own way too. By playing with muted colours and then sharper black and white ink, Emily's been able to reimagine some really iconic characters from a range of different places, completely in her own style. It's really inspiring for me to see, because there wasn't a day of Inktober where I'm not scrolling through my feed and then her art, it's just like, whoa, that's Emily's work. You immediately know it's her stuff, and I think that, yeah, I just think that shows a next level of what you can achieve in art, and I'm jealous of it, but it's really good, and I really enjoyed following everything that she made throughout this month. Just let's be honest, everyone too, but really good work. And finally, Dave. I am sorry I had to put you at the end, Dave, but someone has to have the broad shoulders, and you always carry me and everyone else this month, so, I thought you could handle it. Dave followed his own character of Little Dude on some crazy adventures, each inspired by the original prompt list from Jake Parker. I honestly felt pretty uninspired by the prompt list this year, but Dave kind of showed me, this is how it's done, by always making these gorgeous, creative illustrations where I just didn't have those ideas myself. Kind of always the way with Dave, but I really loved the range of styles that Dave has used. His work is really expressive, and I loved following that this year. It kind of kept me going too. And I think especially, I know this is a bit more odd, but we can see Dave's work for 4 years now. I've been able to follow it that amount of time. You get to see so many moments where his style's developed here, and look how he's grown better at this part, and I love that he's revisited this. So it is really enjoyable to follow someone's art over such a long period, and it's one of the things that I really like about the idea of Promptsquad and going forward with it, is that we can see each one grow and keep getting stronger. And yeah, I want to say that quickly, just for everyone, I like that we can all come together every month and we can all progress as a whole and as friends. I think a challenge like Inktober really tests you as a person. It's good because you'll learn a lot, but it's even better when you can share that with friends who can also follow it. Not only do you develop your own art, but we all can learn from each other too. We've all got a lot that we're good at and a lot that we need help with. So I think Promptsquad can be great for coming together and watching something change. It will be interesting next October if we take part in Inktober again, all of us, to reflect together again on how did things change this year. So next month's prompt. Luckily, you don't have to do 31 illustrations this time. This one is actually inspired by a conversation that I had with Karl, I think probably a few months ago, and I hope that they remember it, or else they're gonna think I'm nuts. But they suggested taking a classical piece of art and then remaking it in our own style, and I thought that is too intriguing an idea to keep to myself. We need to do that as a Promptsquad. So this month I would like you to choose a classical piece of art, basically any famous piece of art that you may have seen in a gallery or you might see in a gallery. Try not to worry too much about the year or the artist. I'm not going to send the Promptsquad police after you if you choose someone like Andy Warhol, so don't worry. But yeah, choose a piece of famous art and remake it in your style. You can do whatever you would like to do. Just have fun with it and get sketching. Make sure to tag it with the hashtag of Promptsquad too. If you're new and you're unsure, just message me or comment or watch the video at the beginning again. It kind of goes through it all too. Whatever works for you. So long as I can find it, I will make sure to add it to next month's video. The deadline's going to be the 1st of December. Hopefully we can just keep moving our deadlines to the beginning of the month. I mean, what do you think, guys? Would that be easier? I feel like it would be, but tell me what you think. I hope that's enough time for everyone after you've recovered from this monthly challenge. I'm really excited to see what art and artists that you all choose and how you take on this prompt. I think it's going to be really difficult, to be honest, but at the same time, I think that means we're all going to learn a heck of a lot of it. So, it'll be worth it. I really hope you're all doing well and are keeping warm, toasty and healthy. Take care of yourselves, guys. If you have any ideas or thoughts for future prompts, make sure to leave a comment or message me here or on Instagram, and check out all the lovely artists, as always, that we've shown today. They're all in the description. Show them some love. They've done so much hard work this month, as they do all the time, so give them your support. Thank you all again, and I'll see you again next month for another Promptsquad. Bye guys, and take care.